to it and make sure that we honor time. But first, I just want to thank all of you. I'm Kelly Goodsell, and I'm the president here at Bellarmine, and I want to welcome you, and I want to start us tonight as we begin this junior parent journey together, as we swing into senior year and then post-secondary for our students. I want to begin with prayer. So in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. We know this is why all of us send our children here, and we know ultimately this is what we want for our children. Nothing is more practical than finding God, than falling in love in a quite absolute final way. What you are in love with, what seizes your imagination, will affect everything. It will decide what will get you out of bed in the morning, what you do with your evenings, how you spend your weekends, what you read, whom you know, what breaks your heart, what amazes you with joy and gratitude. Fall in love, stay in love, and it will decide everything. This is Father Arrupe. So that's what we want to seed into the souls of our kids while they're here, and as they take their walk, it's what we want them to live out in their lives. And this year, as we all know, and some of you out here are very expert at this, so you have much to teach us as you've been through this before. But we're at a pivotal time, we're at a bridge, we're at a time when they really do start to begin to look at what is the next step? What does that mean for me? Why am I here? What am I interested in? And we're here at Bellarmine, it's a college preparatory school, to make sure we prepare that way for you, that there's a clear roadmap, and we're in a place of consistent growth in doing that for you. And that we do this together. We're partners and we do this together. So on the note of parent partnership, before we dig into college readiness, I want to bring up here our vice principal, I was just with our vice president, our vice principal, Bill Berg.
Again, thank you so much for being here this evening. It's an exciting time for your families. And I'm eager to hear the insights from the counseling department that they're going to share with you tonight. As your students begin taking an earnest look at their next steps, whether to college, career, life, we are here to walk with you every step of the way. So in collaboration with you, we have been preparing students to embrace these next stages with confidence and with purpose. Tonight's presentation will provide an essential, though not exclusive, roadmap to help guide your family through this transformative journey. As Kelly just mentioned, the 11th grade year is a pivotal year for your students. It marks a time of significant growth, self-discovery, and academic focus as students start making some concrete decisions about their futures. The transition from junior to senior year builds on this momentum, fostering increased independence, deeper discernment, and a stronger sense of purpose. At Bellarmine, these critical years align with our mission to form well-rounded individuals. As students navigate their journey through high school, they are called to integrate these skills and values we emphasize: academic excellence, moral integrity, and spiritual growth into their decisions about what comes next. Which leads me to this slide. When you were considering Bellarmine, you likely heard us mention repeatedly how we are in a partnership with you. To that point, here are some areas where that partnership is critical. The first one is our mission and formation. This period of transformation reflects the heart of Bellarmine's mission. We are dedicated to developing students who not only strive to excel academically, but are also embodying the Jesuit ideal of being men and women with and for others. By fostering a commitment to service, to justice, and compassion, we guide students towards lives of meaning and impact, both now and in the future. Your support as parents is crucial in this mission. As students explore their next steps, your active engagement helps reinforce the values of purpose, resilience, and faith that are central to their formation at Bellarmine. There's also a lot of opportunities for engagement. 2 of them are mentioned here. Volunteer opportunities. Again, as parents of rising seniors soon, you will be leaders in this community as well. And there's an abundance of volunteer opportunities for you to take advantage of. Groups like Philadelphia, for example, or even the Lions Den that's open this evening, and always selling swag, so don't hesitate to visit them. These are meaningful ways to contribute your time and your talents. There's also a number of parent groups that you can join. PASA is one example that offers avenues connecting and collaborating with other parents. The next one I want to talk about is communication, because that is critical this year and into next year. Staying informed is essential to remaining actively engaged. Bellarmine News, which is delivered to your email inbox every 2 weeks, is a valuable resource for you. We encourage you to make a habit to review each edition and stay connected with what's going on in the Bellarmine community, what's happening in this community. Supporting our mission financially, of course. As a private Catholic Jesuit college prep school, we rely on tuition and the generosity of our families to support our mission. So we invite parents to share their time, their treasure, and their talents to ensure that our programs and opportunities continue to thrive. Your contributions, large and small, help sustain the transformative experiences we offer our students. And the last one I wanted to mention is the ambassador and champions for Bellarmine. As you approach your child's senior year, remember that you play a vital role as ambassadors to Bellarmine. Share the mission that drives everything we do. Help spread the word about the extraordinary community we've built together and the life-changing opportunities that we hope to provide. Overall, your partnership is invaluable, and together we continue to make Bellarmine a place where students and families flourish. I thank you for your time tonight. I think you're going to learn a lot of really good stuff. Our counseling team is ready to go. But before I invite them up, I am going to invite Cedar Herschel, who apparently is my much younger and better looking twin tonight, to talk a little bit about advancement.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks for saying I was better looking. I appreciate that. I can't grow the beard. So Bill just talked about those different areas. I just want to focus on 2, and that's volunteering and the financial perspective. So again, I'm the Vice President of Institutional Advancement Community Engagement, and we focus on both obviously the fundraising and development side here at Bellarmine, but also Bellarmine as an institution and how we can advance the school. And so as parents, you guys have a unique opportunity to help support the students and the school itself in those areas. So I just wanted to touch on 5 different areas that I think are important to all of us as a community. First, we were just handing out tickets. We're going to do a raffle here at the end of the night for our Bellarmine Gala. That's our annual fundraising event, but it's also our largest community event. So not only do we ask the community to support us from a financial perspective, but we also kind of celebrate our successes. And that's where we also announce our St. Robert Bellarmine Award winner. And this year it's Tim Baloka, alumni, past board member, and past board chair. And that's an award given by our president, Dr. Goodsell. And again, it's an opportunity for us as a community to come together and highlight folks that have lived out that grad-to-grad mission that we all have when we graduate from Bellarmine. The annual fund. So that's the annual part of fundraising here at Bellarmine. As you might know, 45% of all students that go here are on some form of tuition assistance. So the annual fund is an important way of supporting that effort. And all of you do this through many different ways. You do it through donations, through the annual giving partnerships that we do, through the margin of excellence, throughout the year, through business partnerships. I've looked in the room tonight. We have a number of business partners that partner with us in the community annually. And so we thank you for that. So there's lots of ways that folks can participate, that you can participate and support us and find what's unique to you. So it may be the annual fund, it may be supporting the co-curricular activities or sports programs, and there's restricted opportunities for each of those. So finding ways to support those is important to the co-curriculars, but also the school. So thank you. Events, and we've listed a few up here upcoming. We do have Catholic Schools Week here at the end of the month. I think it's also the same week as a semester exam, so it's good for the kids to have a game during Catholic Schools Week. We're doing a partnership with Gonzaga's alumni department over in Spokane, and we're going to host here in the campus center a watch party against St. Mary's on Saturday, February 1st. And it's a family event, so we can bring those that are under 21 to come join us. But again, it's a unique way to bring both Bellarmine, our alums, as well as our other Catholic schools like Gonzaga, which is obviously Jesuit, to come support us. So the alumni office from Gonzaga will be over here. Full disclosure, I'm a St. Mary's grad, so I'm hoping we win. I might be the only person in the room wearing a St. Mary's sweatshirt. And then the opportunities to volunteer, as Bill mentioned. Again, everybody has their unique ways. It can be through the athletic programs, it can be through the co-curriculars, it can be supporting us even a gala. It takes a lot both from support staff as well as volunteers like yourselves to help us. So if there's unique ways that you feel engaged to help us, we appreciate that. And then lastly, from just a pure community engagement perspective, Bellarmine tries really hard to engage outside of the 44 acres that we have here and in the Tacoma community. We're going to be celebrating our 100th anniversary in 2028, and there's a lot of people in the Tacoma area that helped make that possible over the last 100 years. So we find ways that we can engage and connect with our community partners, be it through Rotary, through the Tacoma Athletic Commission, through Green Trike, through Multicare. But I think if you guys have ideas and ways that we can better engage and focus our energies with others in the community and celebrate Bellarmine, we appreciate that. So I'm happy to talk to folks, and if you have questions, please feel free to email me, and we look forward to seeing you on March 1st for our gala. Thanks.
All right, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you. My name is Tawana Wilson, and I am the department chair for the counseling department. And we want to welcome you all here, and thank you for being here with some wonderful attendance. And so we are happy that you guys were all able to take the time to be with us here on the first day back after winter break. Quick overview. So we're going to discuss just the counseling process here for Bellarmine. Quick show of hands if this is. I'm going to touch base on Naviance, which is our college search engine. And then we are also going to discuss scholarships, athletics, and then we have a special guest presentation as well. Just a little bit about our mission as college counselors. We are here to provide support for you and your students. So we are available to you all. You just have to reach out. You can contact us via email, in person. We can set up Zooms, but we really want to make sure that you guys know we are accessible to you all. So if you have questions, concerns, please reach out. Please ask those questions, and we are happy to get back to you with those information. We're here to help your students grow through the transition from teenager to young adult by assisting with thoughtful planning, decision-making, skill building, so they can take ownership of this process. We really want them to be the leaders, the captains of this boat, and we are here to provide that support as they determine what's best fit for them. So your student drives this process. We aim to consider family needs and ease the parent stress by evolving your role from manager to consultant, so really giving them the tools for them to be successful in this process. We help match students with colleges that will best fit them for graduation and success beyond the emphasis on, with success beyond with the emphasis on best fit. We want them to really be picking schools that are the best fit for them, okay? A lot of times students come with dreams or aspirations about a college that they've always thought about, and then as this process has continued to transform and evolve, they end up finding that that maybe is not the best school for them. They find the school that is the best fit for them, and that's what we want for our students. And then we want to be available to them to offer information and assistance in a timely manner. So next, to continue on and to give you guys additional information, I would like to welcome Claire Silva, who is the Assistant Director of Admissions at Gonzaga. Please give her a round of applause.
evening, everyone. Allow me to adjust for height. Again, I'm Claire Silva, Associate Director of Admission at Gonzaga University. I have been at Gonzaga now for a little over 17 years in admissions, and here to just give you some guidance and support in regards to navigating the college admission process, not specifically to Gonzaga, but just in general, and hoping that these are some helpful tidbits as you go through this process that can seem very overwhelming. And I know there are many of you that have done it before, and many this is the first time around. So I'm going to cover a few things that Tawana talked about. This just touched on this, but the parent's role and guardian's role of the student, first as your student goes through this process, really we hope is a supportive role. And just helping, being that trusted adult. Students are getting information from a lot of different places, from TikTok and social media and friends that have maybe got that information. So knowing that they have a trusted, supportive adult as they go through this process and really asking those questions. Did it go off again? Okay. But no, that's okay. But really just looking at, sorry. What students are, asking the questions that they need. For example, does the university that they're looking at, are these schools on their list? Do they offer what your student is looking for and what they need? The academic programs they might need, any resources and additional support that they may need. Is this something that the student is, asking those harder questions like, is this going to be a good financial fit for our student? Is this going to be the right fit in general? I'll just wait. No, that's okay. So, that's okay. There we go, yeah. Excellent. There we go. All right. Okay. Great things to do junior year, visiting. And virtual visits are really excellent opportunities to just scratch the surface if you're trying to figure out where you might want to actually go visit in person that senior year if junior year doesn't work out, or if you're trying to figure out some summer visit plans, doing those virtual opportunities that universities still offer. COVID really allowed us to get pretty savvy with virtual options and opportunities for students, and many schools have maintained those. In maybe less options, though there are some very great resources. I want to talk about kind of what we look for as you start navigating this process. I think universities will look at a variety of different criteria, but this is, and they may say it in a different way, but in general, these are the things that colleges will be looking for when they evaluate students for admission. First, one of the biggest things colleges are going to look at is strength of curriculum. You have incredible curriculum opportunities here at Bellarmine through advanced coursework, dual enrollment opportunities, and that'll be discussed this evening, but just knowing that we are looking for students who are prepared academically for the rigor of college coursework. So taking those courses, strong courses throughout 4 years of high school really tells us a ton about how well a student is going to be prepared. GPA and grade trends. We prefer to see an upward or a steady grade trend compared to a downward grade trend. And that, sometimes there can be hiccups and bumps along the way. We recognize that life happens and students can go through a lot. Families have different situations and different circumstances. And those are all things that we can learn about through the admission process. But in general, we are looking at those trends in grades. Whether that's from year to year or maybe a semester bump, a semester dip, but then the student had an upward trajectory. Activities and honors, what your school's involved in their school, in their community, at home, that tells us what type of student what they're going to be on our committee, what types of gifts and talents they're going to bring to our community. So keeping a solid list as students go, and I know Bellarmine will have resources and tools to help guide you in keeping a list, because I remember getting to my senior year and I was like, I don't remember what I did my freshman and sophomore year. So being able to keep track of those as you go is helpful. Quality of writing will be something that we look at when we evaluate students. Some schools will have more writing requirements than others, and but Gonzaga specifically, we will be looking at the quality of writing within the application. Letters of recommendation and character is another criteria and factor that we look at. Some schools, again, will require a recommendation letter from a teacher, some will not, but that gives us a glimpse into what the student is like at the school as a student and an individual at the school as well. Test scores is another criteria that colleges will use. You will get more information from Ms. Keene on this later, I believe. So just knowing that many schools are test optional and do not require tests, but there are some that still do, and recognizing as you're going through the list and you are looking at colleges to be aware of what schools do require the SAT or ACT and which do not. Okay, so I think that college admissions has transformed so much over the years and may look a lot different. If you did go through the process, or you know people who've gone through the process, knowing that it changes, and it has changed a lot. And I think that a lot of times students could get very, very overwhelmed. This process can be a lot and can be overwhelming, but we're hoping that giving you tools and information can make it less overwhelming, less anxiety-inducing. And this list over here, excuse me, it seems like a lot, and it doesn't have to be. There's no one-size-fits-all. You don't have to check a perfect set of boxes to get into colleges. Colleges are really looking for students, again, who are academically prepared for their institutions and well-rounded, and maybe have different interests and different gifts and different talents. They don't have to be involved in every single school club and do every single volunteer thing. That's just a lot for anybody. And they also have their schoolwork to take care of, and they're really involved in music or sports or whatever it is that they're passionate about. So just helping your student recognize that it's okay to be in the lane that they're in and be involved in the things that they're involved in, and not saying, let's just add this one more thing because it's going to look better on your college application process. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for those students who are prepared, and we want students to have balance. So, okay. I want to just go through some logistical things in the process and some verbiage that you may hear as you go through the process. So deadlines. Universities will have different types of deadlines. There's a pooling admissions or deadline-based admissions you might hear, or rolling admissions. So pooling admissions basically means the university takes all the applications at once, we evaluate them all at once, and we send decisions at once. That's what Gonzaga does. There's rolling admission, and that is colleges are evaluating applications as they come in, and you're getting an admission decision typically a lot quicker. So maybe in 2 to 3 weeks after you apply. So it doesn't mean that the college wants you more or less if you get a decision back quicker. It just means that that's their process. Has a lot goes into that. It depends on how many college applications the university receives, the competitiveness of the application process. So it just varies per university. So just understanding that. There are different types of deadlines that colleges have. Early action, these are ones that you'll hear. Early action, early decision, regular decision. Early action, those of you that have been through this before probably know that one. That is typically a non-binding process. So that means you apply to college early action, you get a decision back early, and then you don't have to commit to that school until typical deadlines May 1st, which you see as my last bullet. But then there's early decision, and that is a process that you go through when you know your student knows they want to go to that university. They're applying early decision to that university. They're like, this is where I want to go. If I'm in, I'm saying yes. And institutions like early decision because that tells them, okay, these students we know are going to be committed to us and interested. So, but they will make students decide early, and they typically ask that they don't apply to other institutions if they're applying to their school, early decision. And then regular decision is typically the last pool for students to apply in. So just keeping track of that as you go. This might come a little more down the way. Types of college admissions, types of college applications. You're going to start to see these different types of processes. University applications, so maybe the university will have their own application. Gonzaga, for example, we only use the common application. But sometimes you'll see that universities will have multiple options you can apply for. So the reason I call this out is don't start the college application until you look at all the options, so you can do the least amount of applications as possible. For example, the common application, there's over 1,000 colleges and universities that use it. So hopefully you could just do one. I hope for all of you that works out. But might not be the case. How and when, how I think is the thing I wanted to discuss here more is how decisions are sent and how colleges communicate. It used to be that you got an envelope in the mail, it was a small envelope or a big envelope, and that was the decision. And now a lot of it is done electronically, and students have portals that they sign into. And this gets overwhelming. Those of you that have been through the process, they're like, I have 17 different portals to log into to figure out where my application is and what decision has come through. So as you're building your list, if it helps, you can say, okay, the students should get emails about how their decisions will come. For example, our students, we just sent our early action decisions out before Christmas, and the students get an email that says there's been a change in status to your application. You click on that, you log into your student portal, and then you access your admission decision. And then you get something in the mail. That is a process that many colleges use now. Typically, the time to confirm enrollment is May 1st for all colleges, May 1st of your senior year. Okay. I just have a couple more slides here, or maybe this is my last, but I like to talk about some questions we typically we're asked, and good to ask the colleges that you decide to apply to. If your college does require or is test optional and your student is submitting SAT or ACT scores, asking, do you super score, which means there's different sections on the SAT, the ACT, you can combine multiple exams for your best score in each section. So a lot of colleges will do that, some don't. Some will super score the SAT, but not the ACT, which is weird. So just having that, just recognizing and knowing that's a good question to ask the schools you're applying to. Are teacher recommendations important? Yes. If a school asks for it, yes, we read them, I read them. Thank you to any teachers who are in the room and who write them. We appreciate you and all the time that you spend in it. It is a lot. And having your juniors think about what teacher they might want to ask is really helpful. The more time you give teachers, the better. If a school is test optional, should we still submit a test score because maybe that'll give my student a better chance? I will say that this question is asked quite often, and if we are test optional, we mean we're truly test optional. We really are giving students the benefit of the doubt. If a student chooses not to submit a score, we are putting more weight into what the student has shown us throughout high school, what the classes they've taken, their GPA. If they choose to submit the scores, then we will calculate that into the review of their application, but know that there isn't an advantage or disadvantage either way. So what we say is if you are happy with your scores, submit those. I think a good guideline is looking at the college's middle 50% score range, and that can be helpful in deciding if students should submit their scores or not. But that's what we're here for as well. You can always reach out to the counselors at the universities that you're applying to. Like, for example, one of my schools is Bellarmine. I work with all the Bellarmine students and families who decide to apply to Gonzaga. So if you're a parent, you can reach out to me and say, should my student receive, or have your student reach out to me, should I submit my test scores? These are my scores. And I'll ask other questions, follow-up questions, and help. Okay, and then so a hot topic right now, AI in general, and AI-generated content. I think that when students submit their college applications, they have to sign it and say, this is my work. And so we recognize that this is, AI is moving and going to be part of our lives and students' lives probably throughout college and their careers. So utilizing it as a tool as much as, maybe helping, if students are using it as a tool, excellent. Helping idea generate, but writing we want to see the students work, and that is really the idea. Okay. Looking ahead, this is my last slide. More joy, less angst. Just know that we say yes a lot more than we say no. The national average acceptance rate is over 70% for colleges and universities. So there are very selective schools, but we really, in general, Gonzaga's acceptance rate is around 65 to 70%, depending on the year. That can be different for different select programs, like nursing programs, selective programs as well. Start curating your college list now. Counselors, your amazing counseling team will start talking about that. Visit colleges as soon as possible. Connect and show interest. This is super helpful. A lot of schools will have parent mailing lists. You can sign up. We do. If you want to get just general information and updates as you go through this process from those specific schools. But for us to know that a student is interested is helpful for us, because that gives us, we can give the information that the students are looking for as they go through. And then starting the apps early. Our application opens in August 1st. So, yeah, my cards are at the table. Let me know if you need anything. I'm happy to help. Even if your student is not applying to Gonzaga, happy to be a resource. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you, Claire. That's great information. So now we're going to go into Naviance, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how all that information that Claire just shared, how we apply it here at Bellarmine to help your students apply to college. So bear with me real quick, and I'm going to show you Naviance. So how many of you all have your own Naviance login? Okay. More hands, let me see. Okay. So if you do not have your own login, please know that you have access to this as well. So all of our students now have accounts. They have a login, password, so that they can access this and use this as a college search tool. You as parents also have access to this. So if you would like to have your own login, please just reach out to us. You can send us an email, and we'll give you the code, and you can go on there and you can see what your student is doing, as well as get on there and play around with the tools as well. And as an FYI, for those who are taking notes, just know that we are recording this presentation as well. So you will be able to refer back to the recording for your own personal use. So when students are logging in to Naviance, this is the home screen. This is what they'll see. And you can see here we have a message to our juniors telling them what they need to be doing, what they should have completed by now. Our students now, we went in during formation before winter break, made sure that they all had logins and that they all have passwords, so they should be able to do this. We also went in and made sure that they knew how to access their profile and see their account information. So this is Marvelous the Student. We call them Marvy for short. But you can see all their basic information here, contact information. And this is also pre-generated with whatever information you gave us in Blackboard. So students are able to update this as well. We like this to be updated because, as you will notice going into further junior year and senior year, we will use Naviance a lot for communication. In addition to my role as a counselor, I'm also the graduation coordinator, and so I send out a lot of information through Naviance as well. Just an FYI when you see that email from Naviance. We also had students go in and begin their resume. This is a cool feature in Naviance where students can begin putting in their information. So all the things that they're doing right now, extracurriculars, internships, whatever they are participating in, clubs, athletics, they can go in here and start keeping track of those activities. As you heard Claire state, that these are things that colleges want to know about. They want to see what your student is passionate about, what they're interested in. And so they can input this information here, and this is actually can become a working resume. And so if you have students who are applying for scholarships or for jobs over the summer, they can use this as a template and then use it and it will format them into a professional resume that they can submit, okay? So we really want students to know about that. We have also introduced to them the Career Interest Profiler. This is a 60-question assessment that students were encouraged to complete. It is based on the Holland's personality traits. And so students go through this and complete based on personality and interest questions. And then it gives them an assessment write-up on careers that match or are compatible with their interests and personalities. And so just giving them an idea of, or inspiring them with different career paths and interests that they can go deeper into looking into if they hadn't considered those already. And then it's cool too, when it does give them the printout, they can go to the different career options and click on there and they can see what is required for that career. So how many years of school? Do you need a bachelor or a master's? What is the typical salary for that career? So just helping them to educate themselves. And then from there, this is what they should have completed by now. Now we are talking to them about pursuing colleges and starting to build that understanding. So from here, we have introduced them colleges they're applying to. Within Naviance, all the colleges are pre-populated. They can click on any college by just going to the college search. Or you can even do, this is an advanced look. So they can look at colleges based on these criteria and they can just put in what they're looking for based on location, admission, athletics, majors, and it will put out a list that matches those criteria for that student. They can also simply look up a college. And so if a student was considering Gonzaga, they can click on that school, and then it takes them to an overview page of Gonzaga, and they're still within the Naviance search engine. And so here's just a brief overview. They're going to be able to see videos, pictures, get an idea of student life, and go in and explore a little bit further. They can go in and see different data points. Here the student can see the graduation rate, acceptance rate for that school. They can also see the deadline for that application, okay, and the average net price. What we really encourage students to check out on here is the admissions. So with Naviance being a tool that Bellarmine has used for over a decade, we have a lot of good data in here. And so when students are putting in their GPA information, also their PSAT scores get pre-populated in here, which will be in here in the next week, so students can see that. They can go onto any school and then look at the scattergrams for that school of Bellarmine students who have applied to this institution for the last 7 years. This is data. So students will, if this was a student with their GPA in here, they would see themselves plotted on here. And they'd be able to see, just based off of GPA and SAT scores, where they might be plotted on this graph to see if this school is a safe school, a reach school for them, or a maybe school based on just those data points, okay? So this is just giving students an idea. Is this a school that I might likely be accepted to just based on my GPA? Okay, and so they can see here that on average, a student with an SAT score of 1280, knowing that Gonzaga is test optional, and a GPA of 3.6, that would be a good average range for them to be considered strongly for this school. Okay, and so with that information, if they are still considering this school as a strong option, after looking at programs, after looking at costs, they can go ahead and like it here and just heart it. And then it goes to colleges that they are thinking about. And so now your student has a running list of colleges that they have checked out, that they have considered, and that they think that they are a strong candidate for. And so when they come to you and they say, Mom, Dad, I've checked out Pepperdine and I want to go there. in Malibu for $80,000 a year, right? They can come to you and say, this is why, so that you guys can have a very in-depth conversation about whether Pepperdine is a school for them, okay? So this is just a way that we are encouraging our students to start really taking this opportunity as juniors, to start building that knowledge for themselves and to start really considering what colleges are for them, what colleges are they thinking about, what colleges will they potentially want to apply to. Right? So that is Naviance. Again, you have access to this, and your students as well know how to navigate this to this point. So again, completed tasks, they are logged in Naviance. Parents, you have access to this if you would like. Tasks that they completed is the career profiler and explored careers. They know how to access their resume, and they are now looking at options for scholarships within Naviance and colleges. And just a note that we do send out emails regarding scholarships, that comes from Mrs. Ford, so just keep an eye out for those. We want juniors right now to start thinking about scholarships they want to apply to. It's good now for them to start looking for those out in the community and taking note of those so that they have those dates ahead of time and know what the application process is for those. Okay, it's the worst thing to have the perfect scholarship that you are a best fit for and you miss the deadline. So starting to help with those now is a great way that parents can start supporting their students too. All right, so spring assignments. So as your junior is getting ready for spring and preparing for summer in anticipation for college applications, there's a couple things that we are strongly encouraging them to do. One of those things is to meet with us. And this is not strongly encouraged, but it is required, okay? And so you guys can help with that. After they complete finals, moving into second semester, we will be in classrooms reminding them to schedule an appointment with their counselor. Okay, this is with their assigned counselor through formations. These meetings happen before school, during lunch, or after school. They're typically 30 minutes, and we can meet longer or set up another meeting if it requires that. Parents are welcome to attend those if you would like, but it's really going over this information that we're discussing with you all right? We have a checklist that they will have that they will be able to refer back to. This checklist will have items that they need to complete from spring through summer in preparation for senior year, all right? We don't give these suggestions out just because we know based on experience, based on data, based on history, that these steps are vital for your students to be successful in the college admission process and to not fall behind or feel overwhelmed. So the timeline that we do provide for them, we do encourage them to follow that timeline. So you guys can help encourage that as well. And then researching colleges. So just like I showed you Naviance, and there's other platforms out there, but they should be going out and experiencing, checking out schools, getting an understanding of what those colleges have to offer for them. What programs do they have? What extracurriculars do they have? What kind of athletics? Recreational, even if your student wants to keep that a part of their life, but they don't see themselves playing at the collegiate level. That is important. Do they have music programs? What does your student passions lead to them to look at this college? And sometimes cost and location plays a role in that. And so these are things you want to start talking to them about now. All right? Use the opportunity for spring break, for weekends, right now to start visiting colleges. We have a ton of colleges right here in our local community. We have UPS, we have PLU. These are just a quick trip right down the street that students can schedule a tour and start learning about these schools. Even if they're not strongly considering PLU as an option, it gives them a real purview of what a college experience might look like. Getting on a college campus, taking that tour, and getting experience asking those questions with an admissions rep will help them as they continue to explore other schools that they might not have the ability or advantage to be able to touch base with now, okay? It's not uncommon for students to apply to schools and then be able to go see them later. All right, but we want them to be able to get on campuses now, and we have lots right in our local area that they can check out. UW Tacoma, or take a trip up to UW Seattle, okay? UW-Seattle is a great example of a large college campus. Sometimes students think in their mind, yes, I want to be there. I want to be at this D1 environment. And then they get there and it's overwhelming. That's something good for them to know and experience now and not wait until they're on that campus and now committed to this school. Maybe they might have a better fit at a smaller school, okay? So these are things that you want to start exposing them to now. And then starting their list of colleges. We here at Bellarmine, we have an application plan. We encourage students to apply to at least 6 to 8 schools. Students, of course, apply to more if they feel so inclined, or they apply to less. I've had students apply to 4, and they felt very strongly about those 4. And I've had students apply to 24. And I thought, wow, but they felt very strongly about that 24, okay? And that, again, is a discussion between you and how many application fees you want to spend. But we want students to have a nice range. And so 6 to 8, in our experience, gives them a good range of schools that are within their safety, within their maybe, and then maybe some reach schools that they would like to get into, but no, just might be out of their realm of reach, but they still want to apply to and see if they have a possibility of getting in, okay? And then, of course, we always encourage at least one in-state school. You never know what life happens, where life takes you, and so if you do need to stay in-state, we want them to have that option as well. Okay. And then summer before senior year. So we have a senior survey or a senior questionnaire that you might hear students refer to. This is extremely important. This, as you know, will help us just be more informed about your student. As counselors, we do write a letter of recommendation potentially for all our students. Okay, so your student will get a letter from their counselor and then potentially a teacher letter. A minimum of 1, if not 2, if that school requires 2, okay? So we have them complete this senior questionnaire, and this just gives us additional information about what your student has been involved in for the last 3.5 years that we might not know, okay? Different sports, different community, volunteer jobs, what stood out to them during their high school experience, what were they passionate about, what did they learn from in their experience. All this information we will use, and it'll just help us just make a more in-depth, brilliant letter for your student that we write for them, okay? Only the counselors can see this letter, so that is something that if your student is concerned about, we only use that information. It is internal, okay? And it is like a 17 question document that they will complete in Naviance. We do encourage students to copy that and maybe work on it in a Word document, just in case the Naviance program times out and then they lose that information, does not automatically save it. Okay. But yes, we want students to complete that over the summer. Then their application plan. This is a document that will have, like I mentioned earlier, that room for 9 schools. They will list their schools in order of interest. It will also have room for them to complete the following areas. How they plan to apply, what that deadline is, what that requirement is for that deadline, whether they're applying early, rolling, regular decision, what the requirements are for that test, if they plan to submit tests, SAT or ACT, if it requires teacher letters, essays, they're going to go ahead and provide all that research for each of those 9 schools, okay? They're going to work on that over the summer, and when they come back, that's going to be completed for us to review with them during their senior meeting, okay? So we will go over that list for them, with them, and then also offer any additional ideas or suggestions at that point during that senior meeting. But they will need to come in with that completed plan, okay, in order to schedule that. And then we also have them link their Common App. So like Claire mentioned earlier, there are lots of application tools that students will utilize. We encourage them to utilize the Common App, okay? If it works out, it allows them to apply to all their schools with one application. They will go in there, create an account, complete all the demographic, background information, education, profile information, family information, and then they will select the schools that they want to send their application to. And so it really is a streamlined process where they will submit up to 20 schools they can in the Common App, complete the application, and then when they are ready to submit, they will submit to their application to all those schools, okay? If they are not on the Common App, the other way would be applying directly to that school of choice, or for a lot of our students, they utilize the UC app, which is the University of California application. Okay? So just making sure that students are aware of how they're applying and what method they are using to apply. But for the Common App, we have all our students create a Common App account, and it links with our Naviance, so that when we are submitting documents, their letters of rec, transcripts, and any other supporting documents, it automatically links with what they're doing in the Common App, and it matches up with their application, and then it all goes to that school. Okay? So it's a lot different these days, but it makes sense, okay? But them following this step helps make that process a lot smoother. I've had students in the past who did not follow this, and it did complicate the process. So they do need to create the Common App, making sure that they are utilizing their Bellarmine school prep email. Okay, that is key, Bellarmine email. Okay. Any questions about this? All right, we will have time at the end for questions, but I know this step is just new for a lot of people, so I just want to make sure you guys are understanding how this goes. All right, well, thank you for your attention. I'm now going to pass it on to Mrs. Katie Keene, who's going to talk about testing.
All right, good evening. Just again here. So as we consider taking a holistic review of students' applications, standardized testing is another piece of the puzzle. But the importance varies depending on the college and its policies. So here's what you need to know. Even before COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of standardized testing had been slowly declining over the last decade. And the schools adopting a test optional or test blind policy have continued. So the shift in the testing landscape has continued to lean towards a more optional policy. For the time being, sorry, I'm gonna adjust this. Leaving students to decide whether or not they're going to submit their test scores. The exception to this are the more highly selective colleges, competitive colleges, and the military academies. So let's dive in. So as we mentioned, we use the Common App. So the data from this fall that we just concluded, what they have so far taken in, test submission has increased ever so slightly from last year, but it is still significantly low. We had 51% of students across the nation submit test scores, and 49% did not. So 50% of the accepted applicants, I should say, submitted test scores in 2023. Now this data is not conclusive for this year yet until August, so we won't know if that trends the same until then. But it's important to look into how optional your school's test optional policy truly is to determine whether your student should submit a test score. This is not meant to create a skepticism at all in you towards the colleges. As Claire said, what they state is supposed to be accurate. It is true. However, we encourage you to look deeper into the data because there may be instances when a school has a test optional policy. However, their review process places importance on submitting scores for particular majors, for example. So this year, there's also a known 5% of the colleges that required scores. So it's all information to take into consideration. So to help you understand whether the colleges are test optional or not, there's a great website to help inform you. This is fairtest.org. And this website keeps track of the U.S. colleges' test policies and updates it each year. So we know that across this nation, 2,005 colleges and universities are test optional. There's 85 or more that are test-free for 2025 admissions. So So check out the individual school's details and decide if testing is the right choice for your student. The trend is definitely leaning towards optional, as you can see this high number. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so should I submit my SAT and ACT score? We really encourage you to look at the common data set. Every university publishes this annually to inform the public of the college admission trends, their test policy, their scores, academic and non-academic factors are considered in the admission process. The common data set is posted on the college websites, but you can also easily search this online by entering the college name followed by common data set. So you can see the example, Harvard University Common Data Set. And then it'll tell you the mean test score, whether or not the school's, like I said, optional policy really does consider test scores. It'll say important, it'll say not important, it'll say considered, or it'll also say highly important. So it's important to look at that common data set for your reference. Like for example, I just want to throw out there Baylor University, Brown University, Babson, Clemson University. They all will tell you their test score policy is optional, as well as I believe University of Miami, Georgetown, and Rice. But if you look at their common data, it's going to tell you that they consider test scores important in their review process. So there you have it. Also, again, referencing what Mrs. Wilson had said earlier with Naviance, you can go into the scattergrams and look to see what scores are most accepted, whether or not you want to submit to those colleges your scores. So we recommend, based on this information, that every student does test at least once. To sign up for the SAT or the ACT by the spring of the junior year, we sent out an email earlier in the fall encouraging you to sign up at that time, but if you haven't, it's probably not too late. Find a session somewhere and go ahead and sign them up in advance. It's really often that students don't know that full list. Even though we're encouraging you to curate something, start looking at these colleges, many times the kids don't have a final list, right, until the end of the fall. And so to be safe, that is why we highly recommend that everyone goes ahead and gets a test, at least once. And because of the fact that you can get a super score possibly for most or many colleges, you may want to test a second time. We also know that students will do better on one test than the other, typically by about 25%. And so it's an opportunity for them to try both and get a feel for which one they like the most, which came easier to them, study for it, prep, and then go ahead and test again. And we will continue to offer opportunities for the SAT. You will have 2 opportunities in-house here at Bellarmine, which we'll expand on more. But I would not wait. I know some students want to prolong signing up for a test because they're not sure. You can always cancel, but you will likely not find an open seat if you postpone too long. So with that, we encourage you in this process to also develop a prep plan. There is so many ways to study and prep for an SAT or an ACT. There's something literally for every type of learner, every budget, every amount of time that you want to expend on this. And of course, there's some examples. In your packet, you also have a one sheet of resources from us that we know students have used. One of the opportunities that I encourage is the boot camp by tutors across America. It is something that would give your student familiarity with both the ACT and SAT because they would have an opportunity to take half of each at the beginning of the boot camp and then get some coaching and training and then follow it up at the end of the course with another opportunity. So the more familiarity, students become less stressed and also have a good gauge to know which test they do better on. It's also something that's offered to us with a discount. So you may have explored some test prep opportunities. They really do vary in price. This one comes to us for $199, and they allow scholarships if this is not something in your budget. So it's kind of, from my perspective, it's something that is a big bang for the buck. And then you can decide if you want to go deeper, if you want to expend more. As you know, test optional schools are out there, so it's up to you how much you invest in this. Looking at our PSAT data this fall that the students took specifically, we found an increase. It was quite surprising. Typically, they kind of hover over the same score from year to year, but this year, your students increased by 3%, so that was kind of great to see. We know that the PSAT is comparable to the SAT, although the score is slightly different. And typically, the reading, writing, math skills are not completely taught to all students until the end of the junior year, which is why you take the PSAT in the fall to kind of get a base score to learn what you need to improve on, what areas need more study, and then you come back in the spring and then take the SAT again to compare. So for the juniors only, for the juniors who take the PSAT, there's a National Merit Scholarship opportunity. And it is a competition based on the scores. There's an index score that they evaluate. The report will come to the students for the PSAT in this month. We will be going into formations and sharing that information specifically with the students so they can see that. But the College Board and the National Merit Scholarship Foundation, they will commend the top 3 to 4% in the state. Washington tends to have high test scores, I will tell you that. So it is very competitive. But they do recognize 34,000 students across the nation for, it's just commendation. It's not any money or scholarship. However, the top 1% in the state, they are the semifinalists, and they get to continue on. They'll be notified in September of their position. And, oh my goodness, sorry, very sensitive. There will be 16,000 of those 34,000 across the nation that get to continue on with this. To be eligible for the scholarships and awards that come financially from this company, the student must also take an SAT. They have to continue an application that they will ask for and write an essay. And then we'll finally find out who gets those awards in March through June. It just varies depending on the universities that pitch in as well as the businesses and organizations that donate to the funds. So in conclusion, remember, you can retake either the SAT or ACT multiple times. We're going to offer on April 16th at Bellarmine an in-school opportunity to our juniors. We recognize that sometimes the seats get taken pretty easily when we throw it out on a Saturday, so by other schools, and so we are doing it in-house. This will be an internal sign-up. You don't have to go online to College Board's website to do our in-school test. Just look for the email that'll come from Mr. Salazar in February likely. And then you can sign up internally for that one. You'll have to go on the SAT or the ACT websites to register for all other test dates. And again, just to hit on, you can super score, so take the best score of each section and combine them for many schools when you send out score reports. And then take into consideration with testing what the application deadlines are. We will again offer another SAT in the fall to the seniors. That date is in October. So by the time you get scores back, you're looking at anywhere from about 2 to 3 weeks before you could possibly receive the score and then send the score report off for applications. For those students who want to apply early decision or early action, those dates often come early. They come typically anywhere from October 1st, 15th, 30th, which is November 1st, sorry. And then many early actions also fall November 15th. So you just want to make sure that you've got your test scores completed and back to you in time for that application process. Okay, I will bring up Mrs. Ford to share with you.
Well, good evening. Hello. I am keenly aware of the time, so we will try to cover things efficiently for the rest of the evening and make sure that we have some time for questions as well. I want to talk a little bit about college visits, fairs, and scholarships. So the big important thing to know that we could really use your help communicating to your student about is that colleges come to visit us. Around 100 colleges come to visit Bellarmine every fall, and oftentimes those visits are not super well attended by students, especially right at the beginning of the year as we're swinging into things and they're just trying to remember how to do school again in the fall. But these are colleges and college reps that we have relationships with, and these are often the people that are reading their applications. Claire, for example, comes and does that visit from Gonzaga. So they're reading the applications from the Bellarmine students. So making that personal connection with that college representative is invaluable. Each of the 4 of us have stories, many stories of students whose admissions decisions were impacted because they made a personal connection with a college representative when they visited. I'm thinking specifically about a young man that's going to Notre Dame next year because he made a connection with the Notre Dame rep when she was here this fall. So sign up for those. They can sign up in Naviance. Come, maybe not in sweatpants that day, and at least one good question for that school would be helpful. So pretend like you've looked at the website before. That's what I've been telling my students, right? Make sure you have some kind of information that you're not coming in blind to that visit, and then trying to pretend like it's your dream school, right? So sign up for those. You can always see which colleges are upcoming. Both your view on Naviance has that and your student's view. So you look at college visits in Naviance and it'll have when they're coming, who the rep is, the rep information, all of that is there. And you can always reach out to all of us, any of us as well. Or you can go to colleges, right? So the traditional visit to college campuses, I know when I went to visit Gonzaga, it was really cold and really snowy, and I kind of learned, hey, my Birkenstocks are not maybe gonna cut it when I arrived on campus. So that was a really good experience for me. I wasn't quite sure coming from Southwest Washington how cold Spokane was, and it turns out really cold. So if it's in your financial and kind of family plans, work plans, if it's feasible to visit college campuses, we really encourage you to do so. As Tawana mentioned, right, we have so many great college campuses that you can visit that are here and close by that will give you a sense of what those kinds of colleges look like for your student. But a firsthand experience of that environment is really helpful for students who are trying to determine fit, right? Academically, socially, culturally. It can kind of clarify those things that seem a little abstract when you're looking at Naviance or the College Board website. Campus size, location, do I want to be in an urban environment? What does that mean? What does the community on campus feel like? Do I like the food in the dining hall? All of these really important questions for students, right? I also think that visiting in the spring and when we have some of these longer 3 and 4 day weekends coming up, especially if you can catch a time when we don't have school on that Monday or Friday, but the college is in session, it's really important to get a sense for what campus feels like, right? You can take that official tour, do an information session, often they'll split you up. So parent information session, student information session, that can be really helpful. You can increase student motivation for getting started on these application pieces that we're gonna ask them to do, right? It's a lot more fun, hopefully, to fill out the 17 question questionnaire and make sure that you've made your list of 9 colleges if you've actually kind of started the fun part of visiting college and imagining yourself on campus. The other thing to note, as Claire mentioned before, is that there's a lot of virtual opportunities as well. And those virtual opportunities often offer students, maybe an East Coast visit is not a possibility for you all, but you can experience that through one of the virtual opportunities. A lot of schools have these 360-degree tours. A lot of schools also, funnily enough, have TikTok accounts that are run by student representatives. So you're gonna get several different day in the life kind of stories. So we really encourage students and for you all to take a look at those things as well. It can kind of also help narrow down somewhat where you might want to put those resources for an in-person visit. There's also college fairs available. So the National Association of College Admission Counseling has a huge fair each year here in the Northwest. The Pacific Northwest College Fair, the Jet Tour, Aero. These are some smaller, more regional or local opportunities. The college fairs, I like to think about them, it might sound contradictory, but they both can help you narrow down your list of schools that you might want to explore and also widen your scope, right? Maybe there's some schools there that you never even considered or you haven't heard of, right? That might be a great fit for your student. And I think always in particular I have a former student who was in line for a very specific dream school that they had in mind that they wanted to attend. And the table right next to that school didn't have as long of a line. So she figured, well, that kind of rep seems a little lonely. And it turned out that particular school was a wonderful fit for what this student wanted to do. And she ended up attending there with an almost full scholarship to go to that school that she would never have considered had she not been at a college fair and had a wide opportunity to see a lot of different schools that were available to her. So the other piece with fairs that I'll mention is that many fairs also offer workshop opportunities, right? Like essay writing or application tips or scholarship and financial aid information. So that might increase the value to you all of attending one of these college fairs. And speaking of scholarships, as we mentioned already, right now is the time to look for the scholarship information. Begin researching those things. Deadlines come quickly for scholarships, and there are some scholarships that you can apply for at this time in your junior year, or at least get started or create an interest profile for scholarships. These are some of our recommended websites. There are so many out there. Anytime you have to pay to register on a website to look for scholarships or pay to apply for a scholarship, don't do that. It's a scam. So these are some of the ones that we recommend. There are many other options available as well. And Naviance has a great scholarship search tool also that we help populate also. For scholarships, we like to talk about, just as we do with college, focus on fit. So look for scholarships based on your child's interest, their background, their achievements, right? There are a lot of scholarships that are smaller and more focused in terms of their target audience or applicant pool. Those are going to be the ones that you're more likely to receive. Local opportunities, right, like Rotary, or various organizations that are kind of local community organizations. Your workplace might have college scholarships available. I know Boeing has some generous scholarship opportunities for children of their employees. So those kinds of things both have less competition and a higher likelihood perhaps of your child receiving those scholarships. And we like to talk about stacking scholarships. So the smaller ones add up. $1,000 here and $500 there can add up to a really generous scholarship package that can help your student achieve their dream school, particularly as college continues to get more expensive. And just to mention, talk about briefly dual credit and AP opportunities that your students are probably already involved with or might want to pursue. So we get questions a lot on what's the difference between AP and dual credit and why would my child take one course versus the other, and what's going to look better on a college application. They're just two different creatures, right? So both are ways to take coursework here at Bellarmine that means that perhaps you wouldn't have to take that same coursework at university. So it's a pathway for earning college credit. AP classes are college level courses. You take an AP exam at the end, and depending on that score and the school that you're attending, you might be able to scratch some coursework off of your list. Typically, our students tend to score in the 3, 4, and 5 range. That's typically also depending on the school, the score that you're going to need to be able to have that college credit for the AP. Dual credit, right, are classes offered here on campus, but they're based at a college and an institution. So the credit is earned by passing that course. And the biggest difference, I would say, is that the dual credit coursework is more likely to be recognized locally, statewide, regionally, whereas AP is very widely recognized because it's a nationally and even internationally recognized program. If you have more questions specifically on your child, please feel free to contact whichever one of the 4 of us is working with your student, and we can walk you through those options. These are some of the choices that your students have here, and they're also available on the Bellarmine, My Bellarmine site. And then just to mention, kind of toot our own horn a little bit, that we are an AP honor roll school recognized by the AP organization. So in that top 7% of schools offering AP, and that's both for the like the breadth of the AP coursework that we offer, as well as because our students perform so well on their AP exams. With that, I'll transfer over to Mr. Scotty.
Well, I'm almost out of time, story of my life. I'm kidding. So I won't bore you with all the resources that I have, because like Claire was saying, it's not just about one thing that helps get kids into school. I think that graph that showed all these different things that students need to do or should do. And just to touch on what Rachel was saying about the NACAC. I went to the NACAC this year, and it was it was in California, beautiful. I got to look at UCLA. I was astounded by, they were talking about how popular it was. They got movie stars coming in and all these things, and it's like, who can afford to go in there? It's 80 grand. 80 grand, and beautiful campus. But you go to these other schools, visited quite a few around the country, and some of them are smaller, better deals. So I think students get lost. I think my colleagues can agree. You get lost in what's popular, and they really need to do some digging. I think it's really good to kind of look at schools in more depth. We got some great deals around there. We haven't even really touched on the Louis schools. Gonzaga is a great deal. I mean, here's a school within the WCC, I'm plugging by the way, WCC, that's Division I sports, it doesn't have the 50,000. So I think in this whole process, if nothing else, go deeper and look at the schools. I have a great resource too that I've showed my colleagues. We can provide a lot of information for you. So I just want to touch on some of these things. We talk about developing interest. Some of the students are probably already involved in things now. We have some fantastic things here at Bellarmine. Obviously, Student Senate and student activities. Tawana's involved with Student Senate. They're already working on so many things. They're basically to help change the landscape to make things more efficient here, as well as other students. Sustainability, that's one of our clubs. Volley UN, one of the top organizations at our school. They do fantastic things. 7 to 8 conferences throughout the whole year. We have ministry opportunities, seeking leadership. So if your students are already involved and they're kind of hesitant about doing things, have them come and see us. We want to provide all the things that we do here. Just within the community activities, Evergreen Girls and Boys State, those are like government programs. And I know with the boys, they're actually helping in government. Girls go to, I think they're going to go to Central Washington this year. If they're interested in that field, they should, get involved. I think there's right now, I think within the next couple months, there's applications are due. Women in Science Engineering, actually that's called RISE. Is that correct? RISE, but they changed it to We Rise, which is Women in Engineering Rise, or Women Engineering Rise. So that's another great thing to get involved in. I think it's up 32% as far as having students go from undergraduate to graduate school. So that's a huge thing. I know we have some fantastic girls involved with engineering, especially robotics. Multi-Care Nurse Camp, that is a summer program where they're learning the ins and outs of healthcare and nursing. A PAGE program, that's obviously in Olympia there, where students can sign up for a week where they're following the legislative progress. Point Defiance Zoo, volunteer. I had a student here that did it for four years. I think you have to be 14 to 18. That's something you can do. You're not going to be tending to animals, so no need to, get hurt by tigers and lions and bears. But that's a wonderful resource right down the street, world-renowned. And then community service projects too. Students can do a lot of things on their own. There's lots of things that are already organized that they can be involved in, but students can take ownership of their own thing. We had a student here a couple of years ago that I remember because I donated some of my kids' stuff. I want to get all my athletic stuff out of the house. So we gave, I think they were taking in all sports equipment and they were using it to other foundations and less fortunate students that play sports. So I thought that was a really nice cause. Seattle U Business Institute. So for you students, your students that are looking at entrepreneurship, Seattle U offers that in the summertime. I think the applications are due in the next month or so, but that's where they can actually get college credit. I think they have that college credit. It might be for Seattle U if they go there. But another wonderful, and it's not expensive too. I think it's there's a registration of $50, but a wonderful resource for students. Again, we're not trying to make students if they're in something else, in business and not their thing, they just want to sign up for it. I think it's more, to be authentic and do things that you're already invested in. There's another math and science camp. I think that there's one in PLU called MESA, Math and Engineering Science Achievement. That's kind of part of what PLU does, so another program to get involved in. Traveling to colleges, we already mentioned that. College Match Point, just at the bottom here, collegematchpoint.com, a wonderful resource. So if you go there and there's all the different titles, I looked at pre-vet, so I'm going to plug my own school. Oregon State is one of the only, I think, vet schools, so they do a summer program there. The point of this is if they're interested in a field, they can put it in, and there's many colleges that offer different programs. Some cost money. They have national student leadership conferences. across the country at prestigious schools, they'll charge a pretty penny. We're talking $3,000 to $4,000, but other ones, you know, you're looking at would be less than $1,000. Some are a little bit better price-wise. So I would really suggest looking at that if students want to do something in the summertime, especially now, going forward here in the next few months. And then our language immersion trips, history, cultural trips. I just wanted to share. I don't know if people know, but we're 2025. We're heading on to Colombia for our Spanish language and sister school visit. We're going to Guatemala for Courts for Kids, our service trip, as well as Costa Rica and Dominican Republic. Those are the three. And we're going to China. Chinese language and history trip. I think Mr. Brown's taking them there, right? And then our Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand history and religion trip. So if anybody wants to go, you still have to pay money, but I'm jealous actually. They went to Italy last year, and I was like, can I get on that trip? So lots of things to do. Okay, and then I'm gonna just touch. Do I have time? I have a little bit of time. Okay. NCAA information. So we all help when students are interested in playing. Anybody here have a student that might be interested in playing sports? Okay. We have students, sign up for the NCAA Eligibility Center, and before that, we want them to have them sign the release, or have you guys sign the release. If they're over 18, they don't have to, but we have them have you sign the release and get it back to us. That way, if a coach reaches out, we can send their transcript. We want you to consider a couple of things. There's lots of ways of doing it. Claire and I were just talking about this, but there's different recruiting processes now. There's athletic profiles, just like any profile on social media. Collecting film is important, reaching out to the programs. You can do that through the athletic profile. It's like a questionnaire. All athletic websites usually have that, and that's always a good start. I always say that. Sometimes reaching out to assistant coaches is helpful. And then building your resume online, casting a wide net of interest. We tend to be a good resource too. I was helping a few students with different, athletics. One was a soccer player, because that's my area of expertise. So, and just like offering some suggestions. I think it's good to reach out to coaches personally and not having other people do it for them. I think the coaches like to see that. And then attending, especially if students are playing at a high level, they're attending college campus showcases. Sorry, this thing just went out. So just to recap, begin researching colleges, encouraging your students to set up their junior meeting with us, and then sign up for that Bellarmine SAT. That's going to be Saturday, April 16th. And deciding to test elsewhere or sign up at College Board and the ACT.org website. Choose a test prep option, Tutors Across America Boot Camp. We have Mimi Beck here too. Scheduling college visits. That's sometimes a lot of people do that in the springtime. And then just staying informed and reading our amazing emails and newsletters. Well, I want to thank you for attending, and we will see you soon. So spring is going to be when we're going to do the Rising Senior Night, and then fall, we won't be Rising Senior, we'll be Senior College Night. Okay? So thank you again, and if you have questions, should we all come up here and we can answer some questions?
Yeah, so we'll be here for a few minutes. If you have any questions you want to pose to us individually, if there are any questions that you think would be good for everyone to hear, we have a couple of minutes before we do our raffle. Yes.
realized I skipped that question when I think Ms. Ford was talking. So we get the question often, is it better to do dual enrollment or AP credit? I think so if you're doing the dual credit courses, I think Ms. Ford said it best, is that not all schools may recognize that because the institution that is awarding the credit, it depends on the institution that is awarding the credit, if the institution your student ends up going to, if they're going to accept that credit. Regionally, Washington State, you're pretty much going to be set. Like those dual enrollment credits are going to transfer great. AP, you have to get a certain score on the AP exam for the school to take that credit. So Gonzaga, we only accept 4s and 5s. So if you take AP and there you get a 3 or 4 or 3, we're not going to accept that. Though we value the AP courses and we value dual enrollment, I think it is. I would talk to your counselor about what the best path is for your student. But for example, like if a student gets an A in a non-AP class and a B in an AP class, we value that they've taken the more rigorous course. And that is absolutely why I say curriculum and coursework. When I talk about holistic review, saying the curriculum and coursework is one of the most important things we look at, is because it truly is. Though also knowing that we do really value dual enrollment and dual credit, because that is a great option, but may not transfer as well if you're looking for schools further away. Did that help? Yeah.
And if nothing else, like New York doesn't accept, New York University won't accept an AP score, a dual credit course. If nothing else, it shows rigor. It shows that you are ready for college. So you will also have a weighted cumulative GPA. So there's benefits regardless of whether or not it's fully accepted and takes a course off of your course load in college.
The question was, do colleges really look at weighted GPAs? And I would say yes, they do. I think we now have both the weighted and unweighted on our transcripts, so colleges will be able to see both. They also receive our school profile, so they are able to see what APs and dual credits are available, so they can compare that and make their own understanding of what we offer to students. But on the other end of that question is colleges do their own internal review. So they will look at what their curriculum, what their criteria is, and then they measure that and they'll give you their own internal review of that score. But having the weighted GPA at a glance is helpful for them.
Even the non-young for, because I know there's like a small percentage of kids that don't necessarily go on to college or go on to the military and might do like a trade school instead. Does that non-young help them program, hey, you might be better fitted to go on and be a plumber or go on and be an electrician? Do you guys help them figure out where they then should go on to trade school and figure out where those trade schools are?
Yes, I appreciate you offering that, and that is a strong consideration. We know that students are being more diverse in what they're looking at. Not all students are a best fit for a 4-year education afterwards. Some might consider trade school or a gap year or a year abroad or military, and so we are having those conversations with our students. We are taking into consideration their academic record, and so sometimes that leads into more questions. You might be thinking about, oh, I might have thought about a 4-year. We have students who are thinking about real estate. Well, you don't need a 4-year degree to go into real estate. So we have those conversations with our students. We are growing our career exploration program so that students know all the options available to them. In Aviance, like I mentioned earlier, in that career profile assessment, it does give them all options. And so if it matches up with them being a plumber, it will show them what that career looks like, what the expectations for that, education, background, salary, all that. So they'll have information about those different careers. Any other questions? Yeah, and then to your point too, we also just recently on the worker students came on and talked about, we had our career panel day. So those are opportunities that we're continuing to have more of. We are also starting a internship program within our school that connects with our alumni. So just offering those opportunities to students so they can see the different careers out there so that they're more knowledgeable. And so with that, we had alumni that were welcome to the campus from all different professional backgrounds, all different levels of expertise. So students were able to hear firsthand what a day in life in that career would look like and what they would need to do in order to be ready for a career like that. And we're also to connect them with job shadowing and internship opportunities as well. All right, any other questions for the larger body? Yes?
Yeah, I know you guys started doing a weighted GPA this year, but I feel like that kind of puts our kids back a little bit because it's not helping them until they're junior and senior year. Is there any talk about going back and retroactively giving them a weighted GPA for their freshman and sophomore years too?
We've always did an internal review of weighted GPAs. We're just now sharing that on the transcript, so it doesn't put them at a disadvantage at all. We've always done an internal review just for considering vowels and sounds, but now it's just visible to you as the student and parents to see that weighted GPA. We're not weighting it or evaluating those numbers any differently.
So it will show on their transcript?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, and just know that all colleges may do it differently. So like we unweight GPAs no matter what high school sends us to GPA. So every student is on the same scale. That is why we're looking at the specific curriculum throughout the entire 4 years. So if the GPA is weighted or unweighted, whether it comes to us that way, we're going to be looking at the individual courses.
Right. Okay, like mentioned before, we'll be here hanging out a little bit. So if you want to come and speak to us individually, we'll be here. But now we're going to open up the floor for our raffle. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good evening. They won't say